Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are still energetic to listen to this Dharma talk. Um, this morning, we talk about the three wisdoms, right? What are they? Do you remember? The wisdom from learning, wisdom from contemplation, and wisdom from practice, right? So these are the foundation for a practitioner to attain transcendental wisdom. Okay, so we need to reach or attain that transcendental wisdom step by step. Okay, so some of you may have a question about if there is a certain practice that we can do every day without to have a deep meditative concentration, and we can attain the transcendental wisdom. I think they could be, but the point is we have to uh, keep our mind uh, n- not distracted. That is, we need to keep our mind focused, but not too deep. Can you understand? If we our mind is always uh, distracted, we can't to investigate the phenomena or investigate the Buddha's teaching correctly or carefully. This is the this is a very important base. I mean, we need to have a investigation into the truth of emptiness with a concentrated mind, but it's not necessarily to have a deep level of meditative concentration, but we need to have a certain minimum level of concentration. Okay, so once we have this mind status and we apply the contemplation of or investigation into the truth of emptiness, once the condition how can I say, once the condition become suitable, and then we can attain the transcendental wisdom. So that's the whole process to attain or to realize the transcendental truth. Okay. Um, After this verse, we have another verse which is a bit philosophical, I think. And but I will explain more. Okay. So the next we come to the following verse, which says Prajna is fundamentally non-dual, yet practices differ according to capacity. All sutras and treatises on prajna are therefore most intimate and dear. The prajna teaching revealed by the Buddha is the Dharma practice that relies on the law of dependent origination to reveal the ultimate nature of phenomena. Through such learning and contemplation, and through such insight meditation, one attains direct realization. In terms of the state in which one realizes truth through prajna, it is inherently non-dual and free from discrimination. Can you understand non-dual? Good. So this truth that Bodhisattva partially awakened to and that the Buddhas in 10 directions perfectly awakened to is uniform and universal. Hence, there is the saying that the state of awakening is like breathing through the same uh, nostrils as all the Buddhas of the 10 directions. Therefore, the discourses on prajna teachings and the method of practicing insight wisdom should also inherently be non-dual and free from discrimination. However, that is not the case. So why? This is because sentient beings have different spiritual capacity and interests. The Buddha accommodated different people when he gave Dharma teachings, and so he employed different methods to suit each audience. Moreover, even with the same teaching presented by the Buddha, due to the differences in people's ways of thinking, there will be differences in understanding. As a result, the object of focus used for insight meditation practice will also be different among the practitioners. Furthermore, depending on which stage the practitioner is up to in the cultivation of prajna, there will be some differences in practice methods. Additionally, there is the situation where different teachers handed down their teachings to different students, and increasingly these evolved into different schools of thought or practice. In summary, the differences in teachings and methods we see now are due to Buddha accommodating to different spiritual capacities, differences in people's understanding of the same teaching, and different explanation and commentary on the same sutras, and so on. Given that the teachings on prajna vary, what basis should we rely on to explain prajna paramita? Although the Chinese patriarchs had their own distinctive practices and insights regarding prajna paramita, they still could not match the instruction of the ancient Indian Buddhist masters. The main reason is that Indian masters ultimately had one less layer of linguistic distance in understanding the Buddha Dharma, right? In Indian Mahayana practices, the Indian Mahayana practices also have many different schools. Among these, there are two main schools of thought. One is the Madhyamaka school promoted by Nagarjuna and Arya Deva, and the other is the Yogacara school, promoted by Asanga and Vasubandhu. Among the Indian Mahayana practices, Nagarjuna's approach to insight wisdom based on the emptiness of all dharmas is relatively simpler and more direct. This is because Nagarjuna relied on the Prajna Paramita teachings to compose his treatise. For example, there are Nagarjuna's exegesis on the perfection of great wisdom, Muna Madhyamaka Karika, 70 verse on emptiness, 60 verses on reasoning, treatise on the 12 gates, refutation of objections, and garland of jewels. These are all Nagarjuna's works. Also, we have Aryadeva's treatise in 100 verses. All these commentaries acknowledge that they are based on the Prajnaparamita Sutras and aim to display the practice method founded on the empty nature of all dharmas. Therefore, when it comes to understanding and practicing prajna, all sutras from the Prajna Paramita teaching, along with the related commentaries found in Nagarjuna's school of thought, can be regarded as the best material available. The following explanation of Prajnaparamita will be based on these sutras and commentaries. So, the Prajnaparamita texts form the key teachings, and within these Prajnaparamita texts, there is an important teaching on the two truths. This next verse introduces the progressive cultivation relying on the two truths. The verse says, all Buddhas rely on the two truths to teach the Dharma to sentient beings. Through the conventional, one attains the ultimate truth. Through the ultimate truth, one attains liberation. So, all Buddhas employ the two truths when teaching the Dharma to sentient beings. The two truths refers to conventional truths and ultimate truths, which correspond respectively to the facts of conventional experience and the transcendental truths that sages awaken to. The teaching of the two truths is the core of the prajna practice of right insight meditation. Why did the Buddha teach the two truths? The reason is that when humans cannot properly understand the nature of reality, they cannot live in accordance with the truth. By correctly recognizing the limitations of conventional truths, we can eventually understand the emptiness of phenomena and thereby experience the ultimate truth of reality. So we have two truths, right? Conventional truths. The conventional truth refers to everything we come across in this world, okay, even includes the Buddha's teaching about emptiness. Okay, so you some of you may be mixed up or may be confused because we have a ultimate teaching, right? And we have ultimate teaching and provisional teaching. Ultimate teaching and provisional teaching both are in the category of conventional truths. Okay, so we have teaching which is ultimate, but the teaching still in the category of conventional truths. Okay, so so conventional truths have a different aspect of teachings. So whatever relate what any teaching or anything related to language is part of conventional truths. Okay, so um, anything beyond the language, this belong to the ultimate truth. Okay, so all clear now? Okay, very good. So what is conventional truth? Let me explain step by step. Okay. Everything that relates to sentient beings, that is, their body and mind, and all the phenomena in this universe that sentient beings encounter are all called dharmas. In the minds of sentient beings, material things are real objects, and mental activities are real mental states. Each dharma, whether material, uh, physiological, or psychological, has its own causal relationships. Through understanding these specific causal patterns, people can discover ways to control material objects, manage their body and minds, and develop principles for organizing families and governing societies. What we observe appears to be real, and such understandings become universally accepted facts. These facts about the world that we recognize constitute what is called conventional truths. Oh, so clear? Okay. If you have any question, you can ask later. Among these facts, or conventional truths, there exists a spectrum ranging from the plain and obvious to the deep and abstruse. For example, plain and obvious truths include material objects like wood, stone, that everyone can see and recognize, while deep and abstruse truths include phenomena like atoms and electrons that are only observable with the aid of scientific instruments, right? Similarly, this present life is what people can directly perceive, but past and future lives can only be seen through the divine eye. Okay, although conventional truths have both superficial and profound aspects, all of these truths are comprehended through ordinary worldly consciousness. Such conventional truths include the Buddha's teachings on three realms of existence, six realms of rebirth, five aggregates, six sense faculties, defilements, karma, and suffering. All of these teachings explain conventional truths. Sentient beings have long been familiar with conventional truths, accepting it as real and never questioning it to such an extent that we cannot escape from it. But it's these conventional truths that we all know and accept really the ultimate truth? No, it is not. Throughout the advancement of knowledge, phenomena that were previously accepted as the real have been proven otherwise. For example, the atom was once considered the smallest indivisible particle of matter, right? But we now know that atoms are composed of electrons and other subatomic particles. Another example is color. Blue and yellow were once considered to have solid existence, but we now understand that different colors result from different wavelengths of light, right? The Buddha, with his perfect awakening, knows that the so-called reality that sentient beings experience in this world is actually illusory and not ultimately real. Hence, it is called conventional. This conventional reality manifests as it does based on numerous causes and conditions, rather than each phenomena existing as an inherently real entity. From the above examples, we should understand that our ordinary way of perceiving things as true cannot help us comprehend ultimate truth. Rather, such perception reveals that everyone suffers from the obstruction of ignorance. In other words, our conventional cognition cannot help us transcend uh, ingrained patterns of thinking and does not enable us to understand the ultimate truths of reality. This fact is something that the Buddha Dharma acknowledges. This is why the study and practice of the Buddha Dharma aims to help people correctly observe the so-called reality of this world so that we can recognize the limitations of our perception. Through the Buddha Dharma, we can eventually uh, understand the emptiness of phenomena and thereby experience the ultimate truth of reality. This ultimate truth is called transcendental truth because It represents a special state of direct realization that is universally experienced by all sages. The cultivation of prajna is the process of relying on conventional truths to realize ultimate truth. That is, through conventional truths, one clearly perceives transcendental truth. Thus, it is a practice that enables people to transform from ordinary beings into sages. When we speak of transcendental truths, please do not think of it as something separate from this world. When the Buddha taught the two truths, he pointed out that beyond the conventional truths that everyone can accept, there is the truth that sages directly realize. This transcendental truth is the original nature of all dharmas. It is not separate from the world we live in. Therefore, it is impossible to awaken to transcendental truths without relying on conventional truths. This is what is meant by revealing true nature through manifestations. Why is such approach essential for cultivating prajna? When human beings fail to understand the true nature of reality, they cannot live in alignment with it. Consequently, their thoughts, views, actions, and speech inevitably deviate from harmony with reality. For humans, this means that all conflicts and hardships among individuals, families, societies, and nations are manifestations of contradicting the truth, results of not being in accord with reality. For example, people cycle endlessly from one life to the next, experiencing continuous suffering. This cycle stems from ignorance, attachments, and uh, erroneous views, all of which signify misalignment with the truth. This is why the Buddha expounded the two truths to teach people to cultivate prajna and awaken to the transcendental truths by relying on conventional truths. When one attains prajna, they can rely on this experience and awakening to overcome ignorance and attachments. Then they can live in accordance with transcendental truths, attaining liberation and progressing toward Buddhahood. Okay, I think we need to have some time for you to ask question. Okay, so conventional truths um, uh, include the the morality we practice. So we rely on the practice of morality to help us develop our meditative concentration, right? This is part of the meaning of relying on conventional truths to attain ultimate truth. Okay. And also, when we contemplate the phenomena and realize nothing permanent or nothing with intrinsic nature, and then we destroy our attachment to this world, and suddenly we realize the transcendental truth. So this is another meaning which of relying on conventional truths to attain ultimate truth. Okay, I hope my explanation is easy and clear to you. Okay, not really. Okay, very confusing. We're all common sense.
Well, like, what is the point? Like, how do we put this into play? How do you make it in part of your practice?
Are you mean the
The
conventional
conventional
truth?
truth, transcendental truth, like, how does that go into reality?
Okay, yeah. Here's the example for you. If I don't have a good relationship with my friends, I get upset all the time. I can't practice the Dharma. You know what I mean? So this is because I don't live in accord with the conventional truths. So
What would the conventional truth be that you're not in accordance with?
with the harmonious life, or harmonious relationship with your friends, family, etc.
Wouldn't conflict be a part of like a natural relationship? Like, you can't, if you're in, you can achieve harmony, but
Yeah.
only intermittently. It's not going to be smooth harmoniousness, right? There's always going to come up some kind of conflict, or
Yeah, yeah.
so that's the conventional truth, right?
Yeah, you mean conflicts is part of the facts of this world, but it's uh, this is not part of conventional truth. You know what I mean? But if we live in accordance with conventional truth, we should have a good relationship with everyone around us. But because we have arrogance, or we have uh, erroneous views, so that conflicts um, appear or occur because everyone want to beat others. Yeah. So that's the how can I say, the that's the shortage, or the how can I can't describe the situation. Anyway, the conflicts means we don't live with the conventional truths. If we live in accord with conventional truths, they should have no conflicts. Yeah. But
So that's the ideal, like the conventional truth equals an ideal.
this
So you
part
have,
this yes, part of the meaning is ideal.
so it's an ideal level of existence.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, once we have a harmonious environment, it's easier for us to practice the Buddha Dharma. Makes sense? Otherwise, we have a lot of afflictions, vexations, and we upset all the time. Yeah. So we can't do anything positive, right? So this is part of to live in accordance with conventional truths. The basis for us to practice the contemplation of emptiness. Okay. So the contemplation of the emptiness is also a part of conventional truth because it's part of our world. So ultimate truth is beyond. Okay. Okay, you have question?
I do.
Yeah, yeah, please.
I wanted to ask about the word truth,
Uh-huh.
and you likely have talked about this in a previous lecture, which I missed. So I was thinking about a synonym,
Mm-hmm.
so another word that means the same thing. And at first I thought, maybe you were talking about reality, but I saw you had like conventional reality and conventional, I think it was cognition.
Yeah.
So I figured it wasn't really referring to reality, but are we talking about wisdom when we talk about truth? Or like what's another good way to describe truth?
Okay. Yeah, this is a very good question. Uh,
It's next. What you can speak on is not true language. The true is the silent.
well, it depends. It depends. Language also part of conventional truths. Truth means we think it's correct to a certain extent. You know what I mean? For example, the science, the knowledge of science. We describe the sun arise from the east and and then goes to the west. So this is part of conventional truth. But this is because in the earth, if we are in different planets, the sun could arise from the west. You know what I mean? So it's sort of correct uh, situation or fact, but it's not the ultimate truth because it can change when the condition change. You
I
can you
see. So, I mean, in that sense, it does seem to mean reality,
uh,
right? What you experience as
yes,
reality.
yeah, yeah, and also reality and and the righteous teaching. I think part of the conventional truth. The Buddha's teaching also in languages or or words. These are all part of conventional truths. So many different aspects and levels in terms of conventional truths.
But things like the overcoming ignorance will create create harmoniousness. But when people get in arguments and stuff, it means that they're not understanding um things that well. Maybe.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, because sometimes I feel I'm stupid because I argue with someone else just tiny things or meaningless things. You know what I mean?
Getting in an argument. So I try to conform to what they're saying so I don't get it. But that doesn't work because then you don't understand what's going on.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah. So a conventional truth tells me everyone have different opinion, and we just respect, and we can try to understand different ideas, so that we can learn with different way to live.
I attempt to do that. I'm not saying I did it.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah. Any other question? All clear about today's teaching, the talk. Yeah, very helpful. Yeah, I hope so. Because the ultimate truth only the sages can realize or experience. At the moment, for us, ordinary people, we just can understand or perceive the conventional truth from different aspects or levels. Yes, please.
So the sages leave the conventional truth to access the ultimate truth. Is that is that possible?
You mean sages still live in accordance with
True.
uh-huh.
they purify the karmas and they reach the different levels,
Uh-huh.
do they leave the conventional truth behind to access the ultimate truth?
I don't can't quite understand your philosophical question. Let me explain in this way. So sages still have to eat, still get hungry, but they don't have attachment to food or something else. And when he got sick, they don't feel frustrated. They just see, oh, it's part of the life, or is it's a conventional truth or part of the life. They realize it's a natural process. Yeah. So we don't get frustrated.
But that's when they're human.
Yeah.
Still human.
Sage is still human beings. Still. Yeah, they are still, but they don't have another next life because they have finished or how can I?
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So a sages doesn't mean lay in a different world or different, how can I say? Which they still laugh, laugh, and sometimes when they get pain, they weeping as well. Okay, but no, how can I say? No hatred.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Are you trying to teach us the wisdom we're going to learn is from the ultimate truth to deal with the conventional truth?
Not really.
Not really.
I think opposite direction. Yeah, we have to grasp or handle the conventional truths well. Then it's possible to us to realize the transcendental or ultimate truth. Yeah. It's another teaching which is called Buddha nature. Yeah.
Nature is he is a human being, and
Yeah.
then he learned something to be the human being to the he found the ultimate truth.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I thought he wasn't human.
He is a human.
But
I thought he was the enlightened one.
Yeah, enlightened one.
He's the
Yeah.
he's not human anymore. You see?
but
Well, it depends on human definition of human. You mean ordinary people, right? He is not ordinary people. He is sages. But human is the category of, how can I say? Bi-
you're in the West.
biological category.
He could take the time because he was an enlightened being right at one level. And I can't find it the time I can't.
So the Buddha, when he was young, he is not a Buddha. He is a human. But when he realized ultimate truth, he is the human with, how can I say, with perfect wisdom. Yeah. So now we are human without any ultimate, sorry?
Well, he's the one that chose a lot on enlightenment, and he this perfect,
Yes. Yeah. You mean his enlightenment, perfectly enlightened? Yes.
There is no other definition for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's time we have to finish. Okay. Thank you so much for your patience.